Be upon you. Welcome to another weekly Forex forecast. We're going to be looking at the FX brokers for the majors today, as opposed to the futures that I normally highlight because there's no data for Friday and on the futures, and I'd like you to see the Friday uh, candles as well. Once you see a complete data set, all right, pretty close to each other, the futures and the FX brokers, but I just want you to see a full data set anyway. So we're going to be looking at the US dollar index first, all right. But before we even look at those pairs, let's take a look at the calendar. What I want you to see is that we have on Monday a lot of bank holidays, right? And then Tuesday, we don't have any red folders. Wednesday, you see that there's some good, liquidity coming into the markets, all right, for the euro, the pound, and the US dollar, all right, on Wednesday. And Thursday, a couple of more bank holidays for New Zealand dollar and the Aussie dollar. The US dollar still, the US banks are still open and will have unemployment claims. All right, that's a good number to watch. And then we have Friday with some pound, euro, Swiss, and CAD news. All right, uh, we're gonna have some good. We should have some decent movement in here, but because of the bank holidays and the shortened week for trading, it's just don't expect a whole lot of juicy order flow action. You know what I mean. So let's just temper the expectations there. Now, what I want you to look at now on the monthly time frame for the US dollar index is this number here, the 100, because it is a historical key level of support and resistance. You can see that uh, it's been used as support here, right? Let me get out of that. All right, let me get rid of that too. All right, you see the areas here are used as, okay, I don't know what's going on here. All right, support, you see it as resistance here, resistance here. We get past it and use it as support. Then we get past that again. Now we're using it as resistance. And here we get past it and we come back into it as support. All right. Well, I'm not a support resistance trader. I'm not talking to support and resistance trader. What I'm pointing out is it's obvious price likes this area for some reason and finds it as a shelf, if you will. And sometimes it's button under it, and sometimes it's button over it. All right. Now, when we start trading below it, that's when I start getting really interested, because are we going to pull back into it and see it as resistance and then continue down? That would be interesting, but uh, we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. What I want to point out also is that after this series of up candles, all right, the buy up, we have a stronger sell off. All right, we have the buy up and the sell. This creates an area of what? That's right, fair value. All right, and you can see that this candle here was an expansion candle, and there's nothing but sellers involved here, that we left a displacement area right there, right? It lets you know that the intent was to at least get to the bottom of this wick. All right, where under all of these wicks we have liquidity pools, sell uh, sell sell side liquidity. I'm sorry. So what I'm looking for is how will price react, because oftentimes you'll see price start to pull back up once it takes out important areas of sell side liquidity or buy side liquidity, like it did here. One, two, it took out those areas of buy side liquidity and then dropped. All right, are we going to take out the sell side liquidity and pull back? That is the question. So, but right now we are trading under the 100, so I'm definitely on the bearish side. All right, if we go down to the weekly, what you can see, all right, is I marked this fair value gap here. That is a weekly fair value gap. Price could very well use that weekly fair value gap, pull up into it to use it to get down further. For sure, it could. All right. And last week I pointed out that this uh, daily fair value gap that's right here, I said price would pull back up into it and use it and potentially continue downwards. And that's exactly what happened. All right. This is a larger one, a weekly. All right. Price could take this high. As soon if price does move back up and it takes out this high right here, I'll be looking for sell setups from that point because we will be inside of that weekly fair value gap. Got it? All right. And uh, uh, that is just something I'm going to be looking out for in the week ahead. All right. Now, on the 4 hour, what I want you to see is price is just mishmash. All right. Yeah, we're on the we're in consolidating and kind of messy here. And that's not something that you want to get involved with. It's not really picking a direction. What I want to see, all right, what I want to see is if price is going to head down lower, I want to see it break this low. All right, it'd be nice to see it sweep these highs before it does so, because there is a fair value gap right there. Why is it not writing? There it goes. And there's a fair value gap right there. All right, I would love for price to take out this high here and then start to move down towards this low. I'm going to look at these. No, not that one. This one. I'm going to look at this as a draw on liquidity, the sell side liquidity draw right there. And I'm looking for price to do exactly what I just said. If it does so, I'll be looking for I'll be looking at the majors to take longs. All right. If it continues down and breaks uh, and breaks this low, then I know that it's okay to take longs in the majors. All right. Let's look at the Euro USD. If we go all the way to the monthly, uh, what you can see is the exact opposite of the US dollar index, of course, and that price is continuing up higher, leaving behind areas that can turn into fair value gaps. This is a legit bullish fair value gap, but you see how it displaced the head, right? You see how it expanded. That's enough room for price to uh, pull back, form another bullish fair value gap, and continue higher. I'm definitely bullish in the Euro USD, but I'm not interested in taking buys from that high right now. You understand? I would love to see a pullback of some kind and then pull up. Let's go to the weekly. And what do we see? I see the same kind of area, a sell, a sell down, a sell off to and into a stronger buy up that creates what? An area of fair value. And I'm looking for price to come into that fair area of fair value to push higher. All right. That's the way it works. And what you can see is I have marked the weekly fair value gap that price could easily push into and then push higher from. You understand? Okay. So last week, you can see how it closed. It was a small candle. That means small range. All right. You're going to see that on all the majors. All right. This is an inside candle. I'm looking for price to quite possibly take that low, and I'll be looking for buy setups from that point. That's it. I'm keeping it simple. I think the draw on liquidity is this high here, that swing high here, right above. So that is what I'll be looking for. If we go to the daily, you can see last week I pointed out this bullish fair value gap. All right, I was looking for a two candle touch. One that goes in and one that comes out. That's exactly what we got. All right, it didn't keep pushing high after that. I didn't see the follow up behind it. Kind of went sideways because you know, it was a slow week, and Easter was coming, and you know, just a bunch of things happening in the news that kind of curtailed a rally, if you will. So we can get rid of that fair value gap, the bullish fair value gap here, because we have the larger weekly fair value gap here. If price comes back down here, as soon as it takes this low, I'm starting to look for my buy setups that will take price higher, because it's all it needs to do is push into the bullish fair value gap and give us the signature that says price is willing to go higher. All right, there's support for that uh, price movement to go higher. So that's what I'm looking for. Okay, if we go to the pound, we have the exact same thing. All right, pretty close anyway. On the weekly, you can see uh, price came down, swept into this weekly fair value gap here. All right, and we had a very lovely uh, reaction from it. Two very bullish candles impulsing up, and but it didn't leave a fair value gap here, but there's chance that it could leave one here. I think this is going to be a strong draw on liquidity, that high. All right, that high there. And if we go down to the daily, what we can see is that price left a bunch of bullish fair value gaps here. All right, displacing higher. All right, taking this external high here, leaving behind this area of fair value. And I'm looking for price to come back into this area of fair value in order to push higher. Could we get a deep pullback into this? Sure, yeah, but it's not as likely. I like this area right here on the daily as a. I like this daily fair value gap here. All right, and if price was to come down into that, I would be looking for a bullish setup. A buy setup. Okay, and I also want to point out that this low, as long as this low is holding, I'll be looking for buy setups for sure. All right. Once it takes that low, then I'll wait until it comes down to here. That's when I'll be looking for a price to find its footing to go higher. All right. That is the pound USD, Aussie USD. All right. Not too different. If we go to the weekly, you can see. You see that recovery here? Boom, boom. I love to see that recovery. It's a quick turn, sharp turn, whatever you want to call it. Some people might even refer to it as a V-shaped recovery. All right. What it did was it came down and swept this low here. All right. Swept that low for buy side, sell side liquidity. I'm sorry, and pushed higher. That's after taking this low and sweeping these lows. It came down, swept those lows, and we see the recovery. Now we are bullish. All right, we are moving in a very strong. We have very strong momentum here. I'm thinking that these highs are going to be easy pickings here, and I think that buy side liquidity here is right below this area of supply. All right. And I like seeing when that's the case. Now, will this area of supply hold? That's a different question. But what I'd like to do is take a buy up into it. And this is where I would TP. Yes. And I will wait to see what the reaction is once price reaches this area of supply. All right. If we go to the daily, you can see it's the same thing as what we saw in the pound. And this is the most recent fair value gap here. All right, I'm looking for price not to exceed that low. As long as that low is intact, I'm looking for buy setups. All right, going up higher into this area of supply. All right, if we go to the 4 hour just to take a peek, a sneaky peek. All right, what I want you to see is there is a 4 hour fair value gap here that is holding price thus far. As long as this low, like I'm repeating, that's why I have this line here. As long as this low holds, I'm looking for buy setups from this area. We'll see. And if it takes that area, then that's fine. You know, that will make me hold off on taking buys, but I'm not taking shorts. I'm not interested in taking shorts in this market. All right. If but as long as this low holds, I'm good to go. I'm going to hold tight until we get some action. Until I get a valid buy setup. Got it. NZD USD, not too much, not too different. All right. It actually moved harder. You see this area of fair value. That's why I have that golden line there. This is an area of fair value. If price comes back into that and looks like it started to do so on Friday, if it comes back into this bullish fair value gap, which is intersected by the area of fair value, I'm looking for price to find its footing and go higher. It's that simple. That's what I'm looking for. You like that sound effect? I got plenty of them for you. Anyway, yeah. So I'm definitely looking. I'm definitely bullish in this market, and I'm looking for it to go higher. If we go to the U.S. dollar CAD, I am bearish in this market. You can see on the weekly. Sorry. All right. You can see on the weekly that it's been bearish for weeks. All right, and we just took out a minor swing low here for liquidity, but we're coming into this area of fair value. I mean, this is a bullish fair value gap, and I'm looking for price to come down, reach that, because there is a lot of support here. All right, I'm looking for that fair value gap to get tapped, and for price to quite possibly react to it and come up into this area, which is a bearish fair value gap. I'm looking for that area to hold and for price to move back down. Now, price could start to pull back into that area of fair value on the daily. It could do it from where it's at right now, from current levels. If it does, I'll be looking for sells from there. Okay. US dollar Swiss, kind of like the same deal. You can see it's been rough to trade. If that is what we call a whipsaw. All right, but it is bearish. We are trading below the lows. I'm looking for price to pull back up into the weekly fair value gap and continue down. If you go to the daily, you can see it very clearly. I have it marked here. As soon as price takes out this high, I'll be looking for sell setups. That's what I'll be looking for, sell setups. And US dollar JPY. All right, their inflation numbers came out last week. And it's still kind of hot, a little tad bit lower, a couple of percentages lower than last month, but still hot. So they're trying to keep their currency, steady. All right, and even though those numbers came out hot, you didn't see a big reaction from the market, right? So after weeks, you can see after weeks and a couple of months of just coming on, just streaming down, I think this is our liquidity objective here, and I think that with a weekly fair value gap right here, I'm looking for price to pull up and use that weekly fair value gap for lower prices. It may stay here for a minute, all right, but I'm looking for price to hit to pull up a little bit into that fair value gap so that I can take a valid setups. I'm not interested in just jumping into sells right off the rip, right? If this is the daily time frame, this is the weekly fair value gap that I was talking about, and I'm looking for price to push up and then come down. Could it come down from here? Sure. If it breaks this low and pulls back into a fair value gap, then I would love to take that as a low. I don't want to just jump in just from right there. All right. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you hit the like button, and thank you for staying this long and watching the complete video. Thank you very much. Make sure you leave a comment or a question, and do look for the forecast for the markets. All right.